What's up, Peach Posse?
This is Anna.
This is Taylor.
Welcome to the Naked Peaches podcast.
Posse, I have some big news, which is that I got TSA pre-check today. Last week when Anna and I were in Salt Lake, dude, we walk up to the line, the security line, and I'm like, oh, it doesn't look that bad. Anna you went through the TSA pre-check line, and I turn the other way, and I go around a corner, and there's this line that's snaking around for what looks like miles. And it was literally 45 minutes. How long were you sitting there waiting for me?
Honestly, I waited for you for so long that I thought that you must have walked past me and I missed you because I was on my phone. And I was like, this is so embarrassing. I didn't even notice Taylor walked past me. And I was like, now I have to go search the airport. And I stayed there. And then eventually when you walked out, I was like, I actually could not believe how long that line was that you went through.
It was crazy.
Yeah, because it's really hidden. You did not see any line prior to turning that corner.
No, when we first walked in, I was like, oh, there's no line. This is going to be so quick. Are we in Portland? Because, I feel like in Portland, the line to get through security is always short. It's never taken me more than, 15 minutes.
Yes. Except twice a year, you just happen to go one morning when you're running late, and then all of a sudden you're in the hour line at
That
PDX,
is when it's
and you're
long,
like,
yeah.
I don't understand what's happening today. Yeah.
I
And
know.
it's always a random Tuesday, not a holiday, not anything, and you're just like, I don't understand why everyone's traveling today.
Yeah. But this line in Salt Lake was no joke, and I was like, okay, I'm done with this. I'm getting TSA pre-check. And honestly, I'm embarrassed that I waited this long because it was literally a 5-minute appointment. It was the easiest thing I've ever done in my life.
Okay,
they
Posse,
just want your data.
Yeah, go get pre-check. It takes 5 minutes.
5 minutes. They want your fingerprints, so be ready for that. And they do a background check, and that's literally it. And then it's over.
Easy peasy.
I did full glam because I thought I was going to get a fucking picture. They did take a picture of me, but they didn't give it to me. It's not going on anything.
Yeah.
It's just for, their database.
They do take a picture when you get global entry. And when I got my global entry, it was after we had flown back into the States from Europe one time. And so I was haggard. I was on this long journey. I will show you the photo one day. Not only is it terrifying, but it's very grainy and small, so it's skin issues, whatever. But I am making the weirdest face. I look like a little. I don't even know. I am clearly jet lagged, unwell. Should not be there taking a photo. It's bad.
Have I ever shown you my passport photo?
No.
It's really scary. I just look like I just murdered someone and I got caught, and I'm pissed that they caught me.
It's your mugshot?
Yes, it's very mugshot. And also I had a weird moment when I got the picture because I sent it to some of my friends trying to be oh, haha, look how crazy this picture of me is. And they were like, oh, it's a really good picture. And I was like, wait, is that what I look like? If you think that's a good picture, it really kind of
No.
I was spiraling. So yay for pre-check.
Yay for pre-check. I'm so proud of you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Next week when we go to Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
it's
we're
going to be
going to
great
the
for you.
Eras tour a week from today.
How are you feeling? This is your Super Bowl.
It is my Super Bowl. I feel so many emotions. I'm super excited. And I also feel wow, how did we have almost 9 months to prepare for this? And my dress still isn't done. And that is 100% my fault. I waited until a month before the concert to be like, hey, Mom, I haven't made this dress that I've had the fabric for months. Can you do it for me? And so as we speak, my mom is sewing a dress for me. Bless her
An
for
angel.
doing this. I bought a pattern on Etsy, printed it out, and mailed it to her. And it's 20 pages long because it's printed on regular size paper. So she had to cut out all the pieces and put it all together. And she's sewing a dress for me, and she's really saving the day for my Eras Tour outfit. So fingers crossed that it fits and everything when it gets here, but it's a pretty forgiving cut, so I think it will. I'm just how did I not do this sooner? I also was I had all these grand plans. I was going to bedazzle my shoes, and now we're a week away, and I'm should I try and bedazzle them still? I don't know.
I mean, I'm down to do it with you. I really wanted to bedazzle my shoes.
Really?
Yeah, so maybe.
Should we bedazzle this weekend?
Let's open our calendars after this episode, and we can compare.
Okay. How are you feeling?
I have no outfit still. I need to go shopping.
Yeah, you do.
I know. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel every week I'm oh, it's in mid-August. It's in mid-August. And all of a sudden August happened. I don't even know how. So it's fine. I'll figure out an outfit. I'm not going to... I need to dress up. I don't want to be somebody that shows up just wearing a normal outfit.
You can't be wearing linen pants at the Eras
No,
tour.
I would never do that. I don't want to do that. This is a costume event, you know?
It is. It's a costume party.
Yeah. Can I tell you something really embarrassing about a concert one time?
Yeah.
So I went and saw Beyonce in Seattle years ago, and it was back in the era where every single person was always wearing a leather jacket, jeans, and black booties. That was like
Yes.
the outfit for anything, right?
I wonder if we went to the same concert.
Maybe. Was it the one with like the flames and the?
It was Beyonce and Jay-Z.
No, it was just
okay.
Beyonce. It was the Lemonade
Yeah.
album. Yeah, incredible performance. However, it's like pre-concert. We're walking, like my friend had a friend who she was like dog sitting for or something that lived right by the stadium, and we needed to check on the dog before going to the concert. So as we're walking in, these like other girls who live in the building are like walking in, and they're like, God, like I'm so annoyed with all these girls going to this Beyonce concert. They're all wearing the exact same outfit, and they're like these leather jackets and jeans and booties, and they like just like look at us, all of a sudden like make eye contact, and both of us just standing there with that exact outfit on, and every other person at the concert was also wearing the exact same outfit.
I mean, that was the millennial uniform at the time. We were required by law to wear that outfit every time we went out.
I probably have like 100 pictures with me in that exact same outfit.
Yeah, me too. I can show them to you after this.
Okay, let's welcome our guest.
Yes,
I'm so excited. So Melanie, welcome to the pod.
Thank you.
I have been waiting for this day for a really long time. This has been on our books, and we have just been so excited. So you are a certified sex, love, and relationship coach.
Yes.
And a somatic healer.
Yes.
And I just need like the lowdown of like when somebody says that, what does that mean? What do you do for people?
What do I do for people? Okay, well, I love to really get people into their bodies. So that's kind of like a really broad oversight of what I do. But I help them get out of their head, out of story, out of conditioning, and into our primal pleasure-filled bodies. So I offer a coaching package for couples who are consciously committing. If you're engaged, if you're getting serious, this package is for you. It's 15 weeks. I guide you in 3 different realms. The first realm is soulful communication. So I teach you both as a couple how to actually really hold deep space for each other, how to be able to listen to each other without taking it personally, just as a person who's holding space. Like, I don't want to try to fix you. I don't want to try to prove I'm right. I don't want to do anything. I just want to actually be here to listen. And a few other tools for really soulful, nonviolent, beautiful communication that you can carry throughout your relationship. The second phase is emotional intelligence. So that's getting to the heart of really owning your actions, your emotions. You get to meet your inner child. You get to meet your partner's inner child. You get to have a little bit of fun playing with that. You get to clear past relationships. In relationship, when you're in a relationship, especially a romantic one, it's the only trigger for your inner child wounds. And that's why this is really important. So no other relationship, your friends, your sister, your brother, they don't trigger your inner child wounds. Only your romantic partner does. So that's the second 5 weeks. And then the last 5 weeks in the 15-week cycle is sexual discovery. So that's where you get to really recreate your narrative for your sex life. You get to start to own what it is that you want to be as a sexually thriving person. You get to rewrite the rules of your own pleasure.
Also, wait,
Yes,
I have a follow-up question to what you just said. Okay.
Perfect.
Can you tell us about like when you sit down to work with a couple, like what does that look like? And I'm sure it changes for every couple, but like in general, what does that look like?
Yeah, so we co-create space. So when we're working as a couple, it's 3 people in the space co-creating this container of safety, of really allowing all of the emotions, and not just allowing them, but allowing them at their capacity. So like if you're feeling anger or fear, really letting that full expression come out. And we do that by creating this relationship, creating this container. We drop into our bodies right away at the beginning. I always guide us in what's called the drop-in, where we close our eyes down. I guide us in a meditation. We feel our feet on the ground. We feel our backs in the chair. And that really helps us gets down to the earth. And from there, you can really expose yourself a little bit more. You can let the vulnerability expand. You can get comfortable with the uncomfortable. I find that our unconscious bodies and our nervous systems, they love to keep us actually in the uncomfortable. So they would rather keep us trapped in fear, in smallness, I think I like the word smallness, keeping your pleasure small, keeping your happiness small. And what I like to do is help people get out of that, help them, give them the courage to get into that unfamiliar territory where the heavens open up. Mm-hmm. So it's like your nervous system really wants to keep you safe, keep you small, keep you where you're at. And even just the thought of talking about sex can really trigger your nervous system.
Yeah.
So like for instance, what do you guys feel like you're going to, all of a sudden your partner comes to you and says, I want to have a conversation about sex tonight. Like, what does your nervous system do?
I'm like, immediately, I'm like, oh, why?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's even just the conversation of sex, even with a committed partnership with all the juiciness, it still triggers nervous systems. Mm-hmm. So regulating that nervous system, being conscious of it, that's kind of the first step that I help guide couples in, is creating that conversation, creating that space to get vulnerable.
When people first come and like sit down with you, like the very first session, do you feel like it's hard to like, even just like start to open up to really even talk about stuff like right away?
Not really, actually. What I
Okay.
do first is, first I like to do what's called a discovery call. So it's free. And we spend a half hour to an hour together. And I like to hear, usually people come with their problems first. Like, this is what I'm going to come with. This what isn't right. This is not what's working. This is not great. And then I'd like to turn that around and say, okay, then what do you want? And then usually sometimes there's a pause where people don't even know what they want. They know what they don't want, but then no concept of what they desire. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where we start the conversation. And then in that discovery call, I also get a feel for the couples. Like, is this energy that I want to work with? Can we vibe together? Can I offer them what they want? Can I help them? And sometimes it's a no. Sometimes I'm like, no, I think that you could be better off with someone else. And then I'm happy to refer colleagues, and then the same vice versa. So in that first discovery call, people are coming in pretty hot usually. But then when it gets down to getting into the vulnerable, into feeling, into really feeling, really expressing, that's when blockades come up a little bit.
Yeah.
And the nervous system kicks in.
Yeah. Okay, so when people struggle to answer the question, what do you want? Mm-hmm. How do you help them get there? Because that is one of my questions for this episode.
Yeah.
I really struggle with knowing what I want.
Yeah.
Like,
and
sexually.
It's so common for women, especially because we've been told forever what we should be getting on a plate off of this buffet of pleasure. And it's not necessarily what we even have an appetite for. Mm-hmm. So I guide them. I give them ideas. What do you want? I don't know. Do you want a clitoral orgasm? Do you want a vaginal orgasm? Do you want an anal orgasm? Do you want full body? Do you just want deeper connection? Do you want intimacy? Do you want to be seen? Do you want to fully express yourself through your pleasure? And then that kind of starts to create some curiosity really within.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
This is so fascinating.
This is really interesting. Yeah.
Okay, well now I have a selfish question too, just about my own life.
Yes.
Let's just jump right in. So I feel like where I'm at right now is I've been with my husband, like we were dating for a long time before we got married. Everything's good in the sense of like we have a great partnership, good relationship, like the sex is good. I don't have complaints there. What I struggle with sometimes is like I am so in my head about work, about my baby, because she's like still, she's like a year and a half at this point. So like we're new parents, like doing all this. There's just so much like going on all the time that a lot of times like I can't even like relax enough to want to enjoy sex, even though it's like I enjoy it while we're having sex, but I'm just in my head all the time and I don't know how to get out of my head. And like occasionally if I'm like a little drunk, then I'm like out of my head and I'm fine, but I also don't really drink that much ever, so I'm like, okay, well that's whatever. And so I don't know how to get out of my own head.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really awesome question. And I think so many people, men, women, all genders, really feel that. And I think one of the first things you can do is start creating a little bit of ritual.
Okay.
Part of being human is the fact that we are ritualistic animals. And creating a ritual actually in your brain switches it and lets your brain know that something new, something different, this isn't the normal situation, is happening. So by creating a ritual, what do I mean? I mean, making it so your bedroom or where you're going to potentially have sex is super romantic. So for me, I can't have laundry in my room. Like that, if there's a pile of laundry, no bueno, I'm out.
Yeah, same.
That laundry is so loud.
Yes.
Like my pleasure and my desire is loud, but that laundry is so much louder.
Yeah.
And with kids, that's a whole nother challenge. So when you make it a ritual, when you create the right lighting. And you guys are fabulous photographers, so you know how to do this.
Yeah.
When you create lighting, when you put on music, when you light an incense, but you're doing everything with consciousness. So you're doing all those things while you're thinking about the romance that's going to happen. You're starting to create that energy body, and you're creating that excitement inside of your entire body. So as you make the bed, you can start, fantasizing about what's going to happen. And then if work comes in, you check back in. Okay, what am I doing right now? I'm creating ritual. I'm creating space. I'm starting to make this something different. I'm switching gears. And then when it comes to in the moment, so when let's just say you've done all that ritual work, and then all of a sudden baby cries or something pops up, or the other freaking morning a Costco list popped up, and I'm like, no, I was so close. Yeah. And it's just, that's an instant invitation to get conscious. That's an invitation where you have a choice. So if Costco list pops up, I have an empowerment choice where I could figs and almonds and apples to my list. Or I can say, no, that's later. And I'm going to connect to the pleasure that's happening right now in my body. I'm going to connect to the sensations that are happening on my skin, not the list.
Yeah.
And if you start to add in breath work is a holistic sex tool that I teach to all my clients. You add in breath work, you start focusing on breathing in, breathing out. You literally can't think if you're focusing on your breath super hard.
Interesting.
So if you're focusing on your breath coming in and out, that immediately puts you down into your body and out of your head.
Wow.
It's like a yoga class.
Yeah. Yoga is actually, I think ancient times, yoga was very purposeful like that. And you're moving your energy, you're moving your spirit, and you can even be moving your turn on.
Yeah. It's so, it makes sense. I feel like you use breath work, like it's used in a lot of other places. Like, of course, it also works for sex.
Yeah.
Yeah, it supercharges sex. So if you are struggling to, let's say you've tried the ritual, creating that space, and it still didn't work, what you can do is create that ritual space, and you can add in 10 to 15 minutes of just deep breath work. And that will help you come into your space, come into your body, ground in the space that you're in, and then experience some sensual play.
It's interesting because I feel like what you're describing is like being thoughtful and almost planning it and being like, okay, I'm going to be sexual tonight and I'm going to do my sexy ritual. And I feel like there's like shame around that sometimes. Like I feel like everybody's like, I just want it to happen naturally. I don't have to plan it. That's like for people who've been married for 50 years or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like that's a thing where people don't want to do that and they don't want to have to like schedule or plan or whatever.
Yeah, that's just a story.
Yeah.
When you plan it and you're like, okay, Thursday night, I'm going to fuck you so hard. And it's Monday. Well, you have 4 days to sit there and think and let that eros build.
Yeah. And fantasize and anticipate.
And you can, talk about it Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday morning. There's no rules and there's no shame as long as you're having fun and it's consensual.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a good point.
Yeah, that is
like, it really is just like a story we tell ourselves of like, that's embarrassing to
Yeah.
decide that you're going to have sex and not just let it happen naturally like it does in the movies.
Yeah. Movies is no-go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's what messes us all up because we just like grow up watching these movies, you know, and it's like at the end of the day, all they really show is like the honeymoon phase of a relationship, which is like great, but also like there's a lot of really great things that happen after that phase too that isn't really portrayed.
Like the Notebook when they're like in the rain making out and you're like, that is the ultimate romance. But really the ultimate romance is at the end of the movie when, he's with her.
Yes.
I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen the Notebook.
I think the time has expired for that.
The time has expired.
You haven't seen the Notebook, what are you doing? When he's with her every day, like reading the stories to her, that's like really romance.
Yeah.
But speaking of what you were saying, like honeymoon phase, you've been with your husband for 20 plus years.
Yeah, 24 years this fall.
And you said that the sex has like gotten better with like kids and age and time. So please tell us about that.
Yes. So we've always made our relationship and especially our sexual relationship a priority and really priority number one. When we are thriving in the bedroom, we are thriving in the workplace. We're thriving as parents. We're thriving as friends.
What do you do to make it a priority?
Yeah.
So in the beginning of our relationship, for like the first decade, we used sex as a barometer of our our intimacy, of our emotional relationship. If sex was going down the drain a little bit and we haven't had sex in like a week or two, oh, hey, we need to check in. Like, what's going on here? We're becoming roommates. Like, that's not what I want. Is that what you want? It isn't? Okay, let's figure this out. And so we would make it a priority and have a conversation about it. So first, opening up the windows of having conversation. And now that we've experienced so many years together, we see ourselves going into that pattern pretty quickly. Like, we'll just pass, and it had been like 4 or 5 days, and we kind of have been distant because we've been pulled in 2 different directions, and that's normal. And then I just say, like, we'll pass each other, and I'll say, hey, roomie, and he gives me a high five, and he goes, hey, roomie. And it's like our acknowledge to each other that, like, we're really busy, but deep down inside, we're, like, longing to be together. We're longing for our connection and our bodies to be right next to each other, but we just don't have the physical time right now. So I think just creating that conversation and that comfort in that conversation. So like we were talking about earlier with the nervous system being like, why do I have to have this conversation?
Yeah.
Inviting those conversations in. That for one is definitely a priority. We just always made it number one.
Yeah.
So if we were going to be late for work because we were kind of in the middle of an argument, we were going to be late for work. Because I don't want to go to work feeling like total shit show because your relationships really spill over into your whole entire life.
Yeah. Have you really tried to like find new ways of having sex with each other over the years? Like, I definitely have this fear of like, you know, my husband and I have been together for 8 years. And so in the grand scheme of things, it's not that long. But like, I feel like we all have this fear of like, oh, what if they get sick of me and, you know, in the bedroom or whatever, what if we get bored of each other? Are you like kind of always trying new things? Is that part of like keeping it number one? Or is it more like, does it happen organically? Like, how does that work?
For me personally, if I have a good personal sex life, so if I am treating myself with love, if I am giving myself pleasure on a daily basis, it's super easy for me to be sexually turned on by my husband because I'm turned on by myself and my life all the time. That's really how I've, the last few years, especially getting in a new age group. I'm in my 40s now, so it's a little bit different. I'm post having babies. I'm done with that phase. So it's definitely taking a different priority and a different like approach to sex is like, it's me. I'm the owner of my pleasure. My orgasm does not rely on my partner. And then that is kind of turned into this like wild free card I can play because now it's like, oh, pleasure is mine. My orgasm is mine. I don't have, it's not nothing to do. I mean, you make it better. Yeah. You make it so much better. But yet I have the power of my own pleasure, and then that's just like I can do whatever I want. There is no story. It's just like wide open. Oh, it seems like every time we have sex, we like try something new. Like there is definitely something new. Whether it's just like, oh, that's a new angle. We haven't done that before, or I really enjoyed your finger right there. That was nice. And that's a really big component in everything. Is after you have sex with your partner, have a conversation.
Yeah.
What did you experience? What was your orgasm? Where did you feel and what did you feel? And those conversations then create so much more open and fluidity between you two. And I like to say too, like, what didn't you like? Like, oh man, I was really dry right there and I needed some extra lubrication. And I was too in the moment to say something. That's on me. Yeah. You know, stuff like that. Yeah. It's taking ownership, which is so hard for women because we've been told for so long that it's just this one cookie cutter way.
Yes. Yeah. And like, yeah, again, it feels embarrassing almost to like be like, let's talk about it after. Why is that? Why is everything so embarrassing?
Yeah. I know, like the thought. Okay, I listened to this podcast one time where I think it was a Call Her Daddy episode where she had I forgot the name of this woman, but she was like a couples therapist and she was interviewing her. And one thing this lady was saying was like, if you're feeling awkward about like having the conversation about what's going on in the bedroom, have it outside of the bedroom, so you're like not in the area where you're having sex, and then do it at a time where it's like maybe you're like driving, so you're like both staring straight ahead, you don't have to look into each other's eyes or something. And I was like, I like thought about it, and then a couple weeks later we like were driving somewhere, and so we like started talking, and it was actually way easier to like not be facing each other. And like, but it's funny because it's like we have sex, and it's like, why can't we look into each other's eyes and talk about it, you know?
I know, I know. Like, and it's like you've been doing it for years, and it's still like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm going to talk to him about it. It's just like, what? Yeah. How old am I?
I know.
I like to think of the 3 T's. So timing, turf, and tone.
Okay.
So that's a really good one. So like in the car is a super safe turf, right? And timing-wise, you're completely focused on one thing because you're just stuck in a car. And then your tone was like, hey, let's talk about sex, as opposed to like, I really need to talk about sex right now.
That's definitely sets a different tone.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so speaking of kids, you had said something to us earlier where you're raising your sons to be quote unquote primal kings.
Yes.
As soon as I saw that sentence, I was like, please tell me more.
Sure. So the same kind of empowerment that I am helping my clients get with their sexual pleasure and power, I'm teaching it to my teenage boys because I want them to grow up and be better men than what's available. I love my husband, and I'm sure your husbands are great, but there are some real deep E's out there.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So, I'm raising my kids to understand what pleasure is. I'm making masturbation and self-pleasure just something that we talk about like over dinner. It's not a big thing. It's not scary. Everybody does it. And pleasure can be anything. I'm teaching them to expand their vision of what pleasure can be. You know, pleasure can be a bath. Pleasure can be I'm just going to stroke my arm and like massage my arm. Pleasure can be reading a book and taking that time, no matter what it is that you're doing, as long as you're doing something for yourself every day. So I teach these 12 and 14-year-old boys to do that. And my oldest is 16 now, and he's with a girl and they are sexually active. And regardless of what they're doing, I'm teaching him like, okay, this is what a pussy takes. This is the amount of time a pussy takes to get like fully aroused. And even if she's necessarily saying yes, like she wants to do things with her vulva, I want you to get consent from pussy too, like consent from her verbally and consent from pussy. If pussy's tight and clamped up, she is a no. If pussy is not like dripping and fully aroused and the vulva is swollen to twice its size, like that's a no. That's a no.
This is like, I feel like this is like the conversation that probably hardly any moms are having with their sons, but like you are giving him the key to like being a good partner.
Also, like, let alone to girls, right? Like having somebody tell a girl that, like, you know, that like, hey, like if you're saying yes to somebody, but your like body is really tense, like check in with yourself. You know, it's like, I should have been told that when I was 12 years old.
Right. I didn't even know what like being wet was, or like, you know, like, do you remember feeling embarrassed if you did get really wet because you thought it was like a bad thing?
Yes,
because nobody ever talks about that. So I think that's really cool. That you're,
or like if you're like just hooking up with boys in high school and then you're like not wet for like a really long time, or you like get dry off, you're like, oh my god, like something, I'm broken, like something happened. So you know, you're
it's like no, it's not. You're not excited about this.
Yeah, like it's not good. They don't know what they're doing at all. They have not found your clit. It's been an hour. Like, so bad.
Speaking of that, so 59% of men and 45% of women in this country could not label a vulva with the correct anatomy parts.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, we definitely we are guilty of saying vagina when we're talking about vulvas all the time.
I just did it the other day.
Yeah.
We do it constantly. But like, okay, I want to see if I can get it right. Okay. So the outside is the mons pubis. That's like up above. And then you have the vulva, which encompasses the labia, and you have the outer labia and the inner labia. And then you obviously have the clit at the top. And then you have the vagina. Am I missing anything?
Well, I would throw in like G-spot inside.
G-spot,
yeah,
yes.
That's a good one to have.
Yeah.
Cervix.
Yes.
The mother cervix, like our power source. Yeah, I think that was...
Good job, Taylor.
I passed the test
almost. That was a great lesson for anyone in the posse that needed a refresher.
Yeah, you're welcome. You can also Google it and see a picture.
And make sure you find the whole clitoral bulb, how it goes all the way down the sides of your lips.
Whoa, okay, I didn't know that.
Oh my gosh, I should have brought my clitoris thing.
Isn't the clitoris kind of like a...
butterfly almost.
Yeah, like I'm making like it's just like the
She's
nerve
doing
endings.
jazz hands
Yeah,
right
the
now.
nerve endings go out like everywhere, right? So it's like...
there's big glands that come all the way down and line the entire side of your lips, I'm going to say. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it actually like can increase and engorge. And I want to make sure I get this fact right, but I believe that women actually have more erectile tissue than men do. It just takes us on average at least 45 minutes for that full erectile tissue to that blood to fill up.
Wow. That's so interesting.
So this is why foreplay is like so important, right?
Yeah. So important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, okay, so that's kind of another thing that I struggle with sometimes is like, I guess like I just want to have like more like intimate moments with my partner, which sometimes can be hard because, you know, we're both busy, like, and everything else that's going on. But it's like, sometimes like he'll come like kiss me or something and I'm like, I don't want to have sex right now. And so it's like, I'm not even getting into the kiss, even though it's not like, I know I don't have to have sex, but it like sometimes in my mind, it's like, yeah, maybe I just like I need more time. I just need to be like, okay, like let's make out, but like you can't touch my vagina for 30 minutes. Like we have to make out right now. Like I don't know, or something like that, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's really beautiful that you say that and that you have those feelings and that you say like, I'm good, but I need 30 minutes to warm up.
Yeah. Well, I need to start saying that, I think is what yeah. Wait, can I ask another question about the kids thing really quick? How do you even start getting into these combos?
Perfect. I base it on the kids' actual body, puberty. So I'm like aware of what's happening with their things. And I get super excited when they get armpit hair and mustache hair and all that stuff. And it's like a celebration. I'm super excited for them. Like, look at your armpit hair! So when you start to see your kiddo transition into puberty is when I had the conversations and I started it. I said, okay, here comes that really super uncomfortable sex conversation. Ready? 3, 2, 1. We're starting now. And I don't like, that's it. And I'm going to say, you know, this is when I started masturbating. This is when your father started masturbating. We all do it. Like the time for you to begin is coming up. So I don't want you to be surprised by what's happening. It's perfectly normal. What's happening in your body is magic. It's so cool. And it's telling you things about what's happening internally. It's telling you that you're progressing and that you're getting into this maturity where you're getting ready to have children. So that's comes with a lot of responsibilities. Here's your first bottle of lube on me. Like, I've bought many bottles of lube now. So I provide them with all that stuff. There's multiple reasons so they don't feel embarrassed. Like, oh, if you're actually going to give me things to do this with, it must be super okay. No shame. This is where you do it. This is when you do it. This is how you do, not how you do it, but you know, this is not with a shower or water on would be fantastic. Would be awesome. We live in Southern Oregon. There, water is an issue.
I've heard lots of moms talk about like their teenage sons being in the shower for 45 minutes.
Yeah, our water bill is our biggest bill.
Yeah.
No joke. So I just create a safe environment for them to explore. And then as they move on and as they go, it's never just one conversation and done. I go back over and over and over. So basically the kids know if they're alone with me, and we have a family of 6, so it doesn't happen very often, but if they're alone with me, conversations are happening. I'm going to say, hi, how are you? I'm checking in emotionally. How are you? What do you need? How can I be there for you? How's your penis? How's your pleasure practice? Have you taken time to really love yourself? When you look in the mirror, are you habitually going at it? Which is fine. But I also want to give you an opportunity to have a pleasure practice where you're giving yourself nourishment. You're giving yourself love. You're giving yourself what you need because deep down on this planet, you're the only one that can do that. And I'm teaching these kids that now.
That's really
this
cool.
Is incredible.
That's like,
what if we wouldn't have been taught that?
I know,
I
right?
wish. Like, I need to be taught that now, to be honest with you. Like,
Seriously.
I still need this lesson.
This week, there were multiple times where I heard myself in my head saying the most horrible shit to myself and had to stop and be like, stop talking to yourself that way. And like, then kind of do some like affirmations. But it's like, you know, I didn't start doing that until a couple years ago. Yeah. So it's like 30 years of this, like, you know, mental tape. Like, that's just so cool that you're teaching them that now. And especially as boys, because I feel like, you know, boys don't get taught to, like, love themselves or talk about their emotions or their feelings or their penises or any of that. So that's really cool.
Thanks.
When you started these convos with them, were they, like, Mom, this is cringe? Or were they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
For sure, yeah. I'm like, all right, here we go. Yes. And then now it's really beautiful where my oldest can come to me and tell me really awesome things that he's excited about. Celebration is, as I reflect back on what we've been talking about, a really good way to have conversation after you have sex is to celebrate. So I also do that. My kiddos and my husband and I all do as a family every night at dinner. We do a celebration. So something from the day you celebrate. Because no matter how hard of a day you have, and we can all have really shitty bad days when have terrible things happen to us, but we're still alive and we're still here. So there's always something to celebrate. So we celebrate every night at the dinner table. Everybody says a celebration. And then it's kind of a nice way to check into people's day and see what they did, especially when everybody's going in different directions. And then on a personal note, my husband and I have a celebration practice where we celebrate in bed at night together. We celebrate the 3 things from our day, but then we also do that after sex. So we celebrate after sex. So holy crap, I celebrate how good I feel right now. I celebrate that we got to connect, and I celebrate that felt amazing, you know. So just offering celebrations. And then that creates actually neural networks of celebration in your body, and it changes actually your whole vibration.
I love that.
I love that too. I want to start celebrating.
Me too.
Yeah.
We need to celebrate more.
Go ahead, do it. Let's celebrate right now.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Um.
I'm going to go first.
Okay, go first.
So Taylor took this photo of me last week at the sand dunes that we have been posting online the last couple of days. And it is my favorite photo ever of myself. I have been putting it all over the internet. I have been just staring at it nonstop. I just pull it up on my phone. I have some in favorites folder. I just open it and look at it and I'm like, this is stunning. I am currently trying to figure out how large of a print I want to put on my wall, and I'm figuring out where it's going to go. And this morning I was even talking to my mother-in-law, and she's like, that photo was amazing. And I was like,
yes.
Thank you, queen. Like, I agree. Like, so that's been my really big win this week.
I love that. That makes me so happy. You should make it your screensaver on your phone, I think.
Maybe I should.
Okay, my celebration for the week, or for the day, I already talked about TSA PreCheck, so I'm not going to make it that. I am celebrating that we are going to Taylor Swift next week. And that when I, like, take a step back and I, like, look at my life and, like, all the things I get to do, like, doing photography and hanging out with cool women, getting to meet women on the podcast and, like, make these new connections and learn new things all the time. And I have an amazing husband and I have friends that I really love. And I'm also getting to do cool shit, like, go to Taylor Swift with friends and, like, do this really fun girls trip, like, I feel like in many ways I'm, like, living this life that I, like, always dreamed of, and that's what I'm celebrating right now. Even though I get, like, stressed and caught up in the moment, it's like my life is so good, you know?
I love that.
So, yeah.
What are you celebrating?
So great. I would love to celebrate that I think this community of women that is right now, like, we are really changing and creating the narrative. We're creating our own narrative and we're owning our own pleasure. And I'm celebrating that I get to be a part of that. I'm celebrating that I get to be alive right now and not be living in a space where I don't have fear of death when I can talk about pleasure openly.
Yeah.
I super celebrate that we are empowering each other now as sisters, as opposed to always fighting each other and holding each other down and being like, oh, she's too loud, she's too this. So I just kind of turned into a little negative there, but I'm celebrating that, like, that this is happening and that I'm in this space and that I get to help other women, and I just think it's freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, none of us would be able to be doing the jobs that we do today if we were born in, like, the 20s or something,
Oh,
you know?
absolutely
Like,
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it would be a totally different world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when I had my baby, a lot of my friends were pregnant right around the same time, like, just by chance. And I was doing a lot of maternity shoots for them. Like, I had my own maternity photos. We obviously have maternity clients that come in, but a lot of stuff was getting posted. And it was really interesting because a lot of the moms of those girls were messaging me or, like, telling their daughters of, like, I love seeing you guys like put your, like, you know, big, beautiful pregnant bellies, like, all over the internet, and these, like, you know, just really embracing them. Even the outfits you wear while you're pregnant, they're like, back when we were pregnant, it was very, like, you know, everyone's just covering up. No one's really, like, showing anything off. And it's even now, you know, it's like you see Rihanna wearing a crop top her entire pregnancy, and it's awesome.
Like, I'm so jealous.
Cool.
Right? I want to go back and do it again.
Yeah, right.
And not to get a little off track, but there's a thing called ecstatic birth. So if you're going to have more babies, you could look into that. And it's actually using breath work, mindfulness, and energy to have a pleasurable birth experience. And it can be done. I know women that have done it. It's like something that you can be coached through. But you can have a really pleasurable orgasmic childbirth. And then think about, like, how that child's nervous system is when they come into the planet. Like, how crazy is that? I would love to go back and redo it. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
There's so much secrecy around female pleasure that even I'm a pleasure coach and I didn't know that when I was having my babies. Just crazy.
That's blowing my mind.
That is wild. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah. Like, full on orgasming the whole time.
What?
Yeah.
Is that pain? Like, that sounds like it could be painful.
Is there, like, stimulation happening?
Yeah, it's breathing stimulation, and it, like, when you have an orgasm, it actually releases oxytocin that feel-good chemical in the body,
Yeah.
and it's a pain reliever, so it can actually help with pain. But just
Wow.
another miracle of the orgasm.
How do you orgasm the whole time?
I mean, I don't know. I haven't done it.
Yeah.
Like I said, you have to be coached for that. I'm just saying it's a thing, and if I could go back and do it again, I would.
Okay, speaking of pleasure and secrecy, we were talking a little bit before the pod about, you know, the olden days, women being like priestesses and going around and talking about their pleasure. Like, okay, tell us about this, because I've only cracked the surface from like TikToks I've seen, but I feel like you know a lot more.
I know a lot more from my mentors, which is like how it all works, right? It's all this sisterhood.
Yeah.
So my sisterhood, my mentor was Layla Martin. I learned from her. She's got other women that work underneath her that are amazing and like touched my life in so many different ways. But she's really the one who's really shown that this sisterhood of initiating women into this circle of pleasure. And women used to go around, and thousands of years ago, before the patriarchy, when it was a matriarchy, they would be the priestesses. So it was this tribe of women, and they would travel together and go from village to village and share the knowledge that I share now with my clients, share how to breathe, how to move, how to be a fully expressed woman. And then they would also take along plant medicine to even take it to a higher level of consciousness. And that's how they would communicate and how they would learn from each other. And those traditions and those things have gotten stomped out with the patriarchy for, you know, obvious reasons, because scared of our feminine power.
I know. The patriarchy ruins everything.
It does. It really does.
So that's what they would do. And it was ritualistic. It's so magical to be in that environment. And I'm really honored to have experienced that myself, to be in a group of women all really fully expressing their pleasure, their anger, their sorrow, their grief, their rage, all at the same time. And it's just like the energy builds, and this community builds, and this being in person together takes it to a whole nother level.
Yeah. Okay, this kind of reminds me of what, very slightly of what we were doing in Utah, because when we were in Utah, we were with a bunch of female photographers, and we had a moment in the sand dunes where it got dark and we all got naked, and we were all taking pictures of each other naked. And it was like, I feel like it was just like this cool bonding experience to be like being vulnerable, being naked, everybody being like, I'm feeling myself, I'm hot, you know, and I feel like it's like a little taste of what you're talking about.
Yes, it totally is, yes. And I've got like those certain friends where we hang out, and no matter what, like by the end of the evening, we're all like naked and hanging out in the hot tub and like celebrating each other.
Yeah.
It's just, it's so fun.
Sisterhood is amazing.
It is.
You know, it's funny about that Utah trip, because when that was happening, I just remember at one point like looking around, and it's like, whoever was the main model was obviously like naked in the sand. We had one girl who was holding up, because we had this like lighting, she's holding up a light, she's butt naked because she had just modeled, and then like everyone else is like pretty much naked because we were all wearing like lingerie or some form of lingerie. And it's just like, I just can't even imagine what somebody was thinking if they happened to see us with these lights shining on these naked people, middle of the desert in these sand dunes. Like, it must have looked so crazy from the outside.
They were probably like, that looks really fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we were thriving. It was so fun, and everyone's like hyping each other and like helping everyone get the perfect shot and angle and fix the lighting. And like, it was like, everyone was so busy trying to make the shot happen that I don't even think any of us were like realizing like just the silliness of everyone just being naked, like running around each other.
And if anyone drove by, they would have seen everything that was going on because of the lighting.
Yes. Okay, so one thing I want to talk about too is like, we've had a lot of clients and podcast guests just talk about general like shame that they feel for a variety of reasons. So how do you help clients work through shame?
Whew, that's a really heavy question.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we fully express the shame. We let it like just crawl in it. So what do I mean by fully express? Like, okay, I feel shame in my like right shoulder, and it kind of spreads out to my heart, and this is kind of the somatic, how it's in the body. So if you're feeling shame, that means you're carrying it in your body. So I feel it in like my right shoulder, and it's coming across, and then I'm going to invite my client to literally become the shame. So like, if that means you're going to crawl on the floor and just like just sit there and writhe, really fully embodying shame in your whole body. And what that does is it takes the charge out of it. It makes it so it's not so scary. It makes it so your nervous system can say, oh, I had that, I experienced it, and I survived it. It is survivable. Okay. And so it's such a gentle process. I mean, it takes more than obviously one session and digging in, having that trust. But that's kind of how to start unraveling it inside of your body. And then you can start to move into empowerment where you have the choice. So you can, now that you're so conscious of it, because you have an intimate relationship with the shame as opposed to just being like this thing over here that I just never want to feel and it's icky, where I have an intimate relationship now where I can even get turned on by the shame. Like, oh, I'm feeling shameful right now. What can I do with that? Oh, I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to play with that shame. Like, oh, I'm so shameful. Oh, and just like play with it.
Yeah.
Because then when it comes down to it, it's thoughts, it's emotions, and then you have a choice when it's thoughts. You have a choice of what you choose to think and if you think it at all.
Okay, I have another question that I feel like it's not super related to shame, but I do feel like there is some shame involved. And I hear from a lot of people that their sex drives don't match up in their relationships. Most often, I feel like it's women who feel like they don't have much of a sex drive and their partner wants sex all the time. And obviously it causes problems in the relationship. Sometimes I hear the opposite too, where like my female friends have a higher sex drive and like a male partner doesn't. I guess most of the conversations I've had with friends about this have been in hetero relationships. I don't have like a good example for like queer relationships, but like what do you do when a couple comes to you with that as their like main issue?
So you're saying their sex drive or their openness and willingness to have sex?
Oh, I guess I don't know. Like I guess one partner wants to have sex a lot and the other one is like not super interested in having sex very often.
Or they're like not in the mood. Like they they might want it, but they're like, I'm not in the mood, so it's like I'm not.
Yeah. So I would get curious about the person who's maybe not in the mood about what the story is. Like there's probably a story associated with that. Like I'm not in the mood because, or my pleasure isn't a priority, right? I'm not in the mood because I'm a mom first and then I'm a badass photographer next and then I'm a wife and then I'm a sexual partner, you know, like there's all kinds of different layers and different conditioning on top of that. So I would first kind of like go into that and I would really again ask what do you desire then. So if you don't want sex every day, that's totally cool. What's good for you? And then coming up with, okay, well that's good for you and now what's good for you, and then we start to like have this meeting in the middle. And it's not so much meeting in the middle. There's a big shift in relationships when you go, you want sex all the time and you want this from me and you want this from me. And then you turn that finger back to the I. This is what I want. This is what I need. This is what I can contribute. And then that kind of changes the whole dynamic of the conversation right away. So it's like multiple factor. But that's kind of where I would start and where I would kind of start guiding the couple from there, getting in touch with the desire. So you don't want sex, you don't want it now. What do you desire then? You know, and nothing is okay. Like, have you given yourself permission to be like, yep, I don't want anything right now, and then be okay with that and accept it and like totally own it.
Okay, kind of a follow-up question. Because I have all these people that I know right now that are like new moms. One thing I hear a lot is like this thing of like, okay, like I'm, you know, not having sex as much as I used to, like I'm not in the mood, I'm stressed out, whatever it might be, but it's like people want to go back to like, you know, having more sex or having a more fulfilling sex life, but they're like, they feel like almost like they're in a rut where they're like, well, it's just like kind of been this thing where it's like happening once a month that hasn't happened in 3 months. That, you know, it's like I feel like I hear all sorts of things. So like
they don't know how to get back into it.
Into the groove. Yeah, that's, and postpartum is just crazy, especially with female hormones. If you're breastfeeding, all that kind of stuff makes a huge difference. Just having fun, getting curious again. So don't just say we just need to go back and have sex right away. Get curious about like all kinds of other things. Get curious about intimacy, about connection. Get curious about body parts. Get curious about what works for you now, because your body's different than it was before you had a baby. What felt pleasurable then might not feel pleasurable now, and honoring that and getting in tune with that. So that's one way to go about it. Creating that dialogue about sex, that will start kind of creating a sexual energy right away.
Are there any like specific steps that you would tell someone to take to like get curious about body parts? And because I feel like that advice, like I see why it's good, but I could also see a friend who's a mom being like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah. I love to do this practice that I call become the touch. So, which would be really interesting to do after postpartum for a new mom. And that's where you become your touch. So you become the sensation that's underneath your fingertips. So when you're touching your arm, you're really not feeling it on your arm, but you're feeling it as the touch itself, as the sensation. So you're bringing all of your awareness to your fingertips as opposed to your sexual organs or your really tired breasts, and then you just start to discover your whole body, because your whole body is actually a canvas for pleasure and a canvas for orgasmic bliss. So slowly reintroducing yourself to your own touch, to your own sensations, and then removing the pressure to orgasm, taking it completely off the table. So this is just going to be a pleasurable experience. My only goal here is to experience pleasure itself, no orgasm. And that can be so freeing.
Yeah.
I feel like this whole conversation is just making me think that a lot of things are just like, it's just like these things you're telling yourself, really. And you just need to not and tell yourself new things and like just be more in tune with your own body. Like just like think about, like the touch of your own hand, just like the touch of whatever, touching your arm, touching your knuckle. It doesn't matter, but just like feeling your body and not thinking about other things that are going on or not telling yourself like other stories.
Yeah, that's it.
Interesting.
I mean, when we do slow-mo video, it's something we've like incorporated recently into our offerings, and we love doing it. And one thing that we've noticed is that like the best things to have our clients do is touch themselves. Like running your hands through your hair or like anywhere on your body, like in those videos is the sexiest thing you can do. It looks so good. And I feel like it must have something to do with this. Like there must be a correlation, you know? Like
yeah, it's beautiful. And I start my morning out like that every day. Before I do anything else, before I have coffee, I touch my body and I give myself love. And it's not necessarily erotic. Sometimes it is. But it's feeling my breasts. It's accepting them for their saggy beautifulness. It's rubbing my hands along my stretch marks and giving them love. And I push my hands all the way down to my legs, and I just touch softly and gently with presence, with honoring, with commitment to meeting myself throughout the day. And when I do that, I am a more whole person for everyone else that I reach that day. And it takes like 30 seconds. It's not like this big thing, but it's meeting yourself with love first.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I love that.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that thing that we talked about a while ago where like the practice of like putting on lotion and like treating it like this like worshiping your body practice, which has gotten me in the habit of putting on lotion every day, which I realized I used to skip for years because I was like, I don't have time. But it's like, it's so nice to take a minute and like touch your body and be like, hey, you're okay, you know?
I know I'm not quite like in my center when I slap on the lotion and I'm like, whoa.
Yes, yeah.
But when I'm like, oh yeah, and
I'm gonna do a bend and snap,
and I pose for myself, and I make it sexy for myself.
Yeah,
no one else is around. It's not for anybody else. It's for me to have a life based on pleasure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like remind yourself that you are sexy and beautiful and like a sexual being.
Yeah.
Well, and like you were saying in the beginning, like be attracted to yourself. Like find the pleasure within, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's like a big part of everyone's journey constantly.
Constantly. And again, not to say this another time, but especially for women.
Yeah.
Especially for women. I definitely had a habitual masturbation routine for 20 years. I just put a vibe on, get a quick orgasm, get a clitoral orgasm, and call it a day. That was good. Now my pleasure practices are totally different. If I did that, I would be like, what's the point of that? Because I give myself so much more nourishment when I give myself pleasure. I'm creating this like whole ecology in my body of juiciness, aliveness, vibrancy, and I want to manifest my magnificence through my pleasure. So really creating this ownership and this body language for yourself, I think is really beautiful, and one of the things that I'm really honored in to do this work and to help people get that.
It reminds me a little bit of what we do, because I feel like a lot of the time when people come to us for their shoot, like we get a lot of moms or just people who like, you know, feel like they've fallen out of touch with their confidence or their sexiness or whatever, and they then see their photos and it's like it like flips a switch in their brain where it's like, I am worth doing something like this. I am sexy. I am empowered. And like, I don't know. I just feel like it's taking a moment for yourself, whether it's, you know, touching on your body and like worshiping your own body or doing a photo shoot to show yourself how hot you are. Like those things make a bigger difference than we think.
Yeah. I mean, even when someone comes into the studio and they sit down to get their hair and makeup done, because it's the first thing we do before we start the shoot, almost every single person that sits down is like, I haven't done this in so long. Like, I haven't just sat and been pampered. You know, they're like, I got my makeup done when I got married 10 years ago. And, you know, since then, like, I've just never, like, had anybody pamper me. And it's like, and you just kind of see, like, this weight kind of release from their body when they're just sitting there, because they're like, wow, it feels so nice just to sit here. And, like, someone just handed me, like, a glass to drink from, and someone's doing my makeup and someone's fixing my hair, and I'm just gonna sit here and chat, you know?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Be treated like a queen just because.
Yeah.
We are royalty, and we need to realize that every single day. Every single day we wear crowns, and you have to just make sure that your crown is on.
Okay, I have just like another tangent question that goes back to my own personal question. So we've talked about this too with like other guests on the pod, but one thing like I have a hard time with sometimes is like, if my husband's gonna go down on me, he's into it, it's good. I just like get so in my head about like, it's like I am in my own way all the time. I don't know how to get out of my own way. I feel like I do this to myself all the time.
Yeah.
I hear you. I feel you. I've been you. Like, I know. My husband and I have been together, like I said, 24 years. And really the full openness and surrender it takes to experience pleasure when he's going down on me is still a struggle today. But I follow the tools now. So I breathe. I bring my awareness to my pussy. If I find myself stuck in thought, I immediately make that switch and I go right away. But I have also really trained. I mean, it's like the gym almost. You have to go and you have to kind of do these reps. I've trained and de-armored my pussy to surrender. De-armoring your pussy is just kind of like de-armoring your heart or your whole body. It carries its own tension. So its own trauma, its own nervous system reactions. She can tense up all on her own and we don't know why. And it could be because she's holding on to an old story. So I guide my female clients through a de-armoring process, and it's using a hard dildo, so it's like a glass or metal or a jade egg, which is a egg-shaped piece of jade. And for me, I couldn't move into that complete surrender until after I de-armored my pussy, until she was fully whole and healed on her own. So that's
fascinating.
That's how I mean, it took me a while. I'm 42, and let me tell you about the best orgasm I had this year. Okay.
Yes, please do. Let's hear it.
And it was my husband loves to go down on me, and he would hang out there all day long if he could. And it's me who gets in the way. It's my thoughts. It's not my thoughts. It's my insecurities.
Yeah.
Is there shit on my butthole?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there like a pube sticking in his eyeball right now?
Is there like a tiny piece of toilet paper stuck to me?
Totally. I hate that. We buy cheap toilet paper, so yeah. So we were away. That also helps the scene. For us, for our ritual, we need space. We take once a month, we go away and we leave the kids at home. They're older, so we can do that now. So we were away at a hotel at the beach, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful afternoon. And he's like, I want you to sit on my face. I want you to sit on my face for like an hour, or as long as you want. I just want you to sit on my face.
Okay.
So immediately right away, my nervous system was like, holy shit, am I prepared? Is everything okay?
Yeah.
And then
You're
I'm
like,
like,
I need a shower.
and then I sat. I was like, you know what? Nope. He's a grown ass man. If there's anything down there that he doesn't like, he'll let me know, or he'll take care of it. Like, I'm coming in. I'm gonna come sit on your face. Mm-hmm. And it took me like 15 minutes of breathing and surrender and calming energy to kind of actually get to that full arousal. I could feel the blood flowing. I was getting really into it. I was releasing my hips. I was moving. And then I had a beautiful like orgasm that spread all the way through my pussy and down my whole pelvic floor. He's also trained. He's done the training. He's done the coaching. So he knows to keep going. He knows that doesn't mean that this whole excitement is over. Mm-hmm. So he kept going and kept going and kept going. And as my orgasm changed and as I was breathing, I was moving my turn on and my energy up through each chakra. And as the energy and the sexual turn on moved up, it was weird because it was so pleasurable in my pussy. And then as it moved up, it turned into grief. And I totally started crying. I just went from like, hello, pleasure, orgasmic, like I'm coming off out of my fingertips to like, deep, deep, deep guttural sobs where I got to really express something that was happening to me, something that I've been dealing with for a few years. And the grief was like a wave, and it came out of my solar plexus and was just like expressed through my orgasm. And as I came up to my heart, it turned into sadness. And then I allowed the sadness, and I allowed that to like flow through my body with my pleasure. And as it was flowing through my body, I kind of was realizing that like if I mix this grief and this sadness with my pleasure, it's not so hard, it's not so bad, it's not so heavy. And then as it came up through like my throat chakra, the whole thing was pleasurable, but then it kind of turned back around to like happiness. And then I started like laughing, and I was orgasming and crying and laughing all at the same time. And he just was like, oh.
Okay, I honestly cannot even imagine what this feels like.
I can't either.
Like, so like my mind is blown.
That's why if you're in partnership, this is possible. And you don't have to be in partnership, but having that surrender and having the complete release of my body, like I didn't have to do anything. I just had to experience and feel. Mm-hmm. And wow, that was enough.
And the whole time he's just still going down on you as all this is happening.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Wow.
And it was long.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, he just like kind of helped me lay back down, because I was like, was definitely riding his face. He kind of like laid me back down, and like, you know, he's keen. He knows that like women have this full vibrancy, this full potential. And and he was just there then to hold space. And then he just held space for me, because he's like, that was so powerful. He's like, whenever you're ready to talk about it, like I would love to hear what you experienced and what you know, what happened. And I was like, fucking give me 20 minutes, dude.
My mind is blown.
My mind is so blown right now. I'm just like, I cannot even believe. I'm shook by this.
Yeah. I was surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then it's like, oh yeah, that's what can happen. Like, and then afterwards I was just like, I love what I do.
Yeah.
I'm so shook because I will orgasm one time and then I feel like I'm like numbed out and I like can't do it again. Maybe a few hours later I can, but it's like too much. I don't know.
I'm wondering, are your orgasms really localized to your pelvic area?
I think so. Probably. Yeah. Maybe, is that why?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, if you work on like maybe expanding pleasure, just a quick way you can start kind of doing that is when you're getting close. So like on a scale of 1, I'm not turned on, to 10, I'm orgasming. You get up to that 8 or 9, and then you pause for a little bit. You pause the stimulation, you breathe in, you circulate that sexual energy, and you move it. So if it's just like right now in your pussy, you can kind of just like see if it can expand to your legs or up to your belly. And by doing that, you're just closing your eyes, you're breathing, and you're visualizing. So your brain is visualizing this, like, I like to think of it as light sometimes, because that's just an easy way to do it. Like this ball of pleasurable light that's like right now in my clit, and I'm going to breathe. I'm just going to breathe it up to my belly. Relax on the exhale. And then you keep doing that. Then build up your pleasure again. So then get it up to 8 or a 9. Then pause on the pleasure. Breathe. Feel that pleasure expand. And then you can start moving your energy. You can start moving your sexual turn on to like your elbow and have like an elbow orgasm. I mean,
wait, is that for real?
Is that a real thing?
Well, I haven't had an elbow orgasm, but I've had backgasms before, for sure.
What?
Like,
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Like, okay, from like having sex, but you're feeling it in your back? Because that's
no,
where
like I'm not having sex at all. Like it's more of an energetic type of like soft fingers and
wow.
Yeah. And you can have energetic.
We have some work to do.
You can have energetic orgasms where no one's touching you at all, and you're like energetically fucking each other. That's
what.
So a big thing to know to really start your sexual empowerment today that doesn't take very much time is knowing your sexual blueprint. So what your turn-ons are. Are you like energetic? I'm very energetic, so like I can have an orgasm without any stimulation at all, just by using like breath work and energy and moving that. You can be sexual, so men tend to be, not exclusively of course, like very sexual, where it's like they're very sex oriented, you know, like to look at images of sex, you know. You can be a sensual. I'm also a sensual, where it's more massaging, more connection, more, you know, a little bit slower, a little bit more sensual than like just straight up like bang, 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 bang sex. So really understanding what your turn on is a really key to empowerment as well. Again, you are responsible for your pleasure. You own your orgasm. When you give yourself pleasure, you give yourself power.
Wow.
Yeah, this is amazing.
Are those the 3 categories? energetic, sexual, and sensual, or are there other ones?
I think there's other ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's the Erotic Mind is a book that describes them. And then Jaya, she's a sex coach as well. She's made a really awesome quiz that is free. You can take on her website. I'm sure you can probably put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will. We'll link it for the whole
Yeah.
posse.
Yeah.
So much good information. Okay, speaking of turn-ons, I have a question about like my personal challenge, which is that I feel like my husband and I have a great sex life, but like when we talk about sex, which is easier for him than it is for me, like he definitely has less shame around this stuff than I do. Like the one thing that he kind of like has asked for over and over again that I have a hard time like doing is initiating. Like I feel like I've gotten a little better at it, but it's still hard for me. And then like telling him what I want. He wants to know that I want it. Like I feel like I don't like spontaneously think about sex very often, but I get turned on by him coming on to me. Like I get turned on by knowing that he desires me. So I think that is like why it's maybe hard for me to initiate, because I'm not getting that feedback until I initiate. I don't even know where to start with knowing what I want. Like it feels like work almost to think about what I want. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's probably 10 questions in one, but that's that's what I have for you.
Where do you get the idea that it's work?
Like because I feel like I have to like dig through my mind and think of things, or I have to like, okay, do I need to go watch porn to do some research of like what to ask for? Like, you know.
Have you asked Pussy what she wants?
No.
I would start there.
How do you do that?
I'd put a pussy before porn.
Yeah, that's I mean that's the thing is like I don't really want to like watch porn to get ideas, because I'm not like seeing it being like, yeah, that's what I want. Like the only time I get external ideas is if I'm reading a spicy book and I'm like, ooh, I like this scene, you know? But that's so different from porn.
Yeah, very different from porn. So yeah, I would get in touch with Pussy and see what Pussy likes. So that means quieting down the mind, means breathing, bringing your awareness, your attention all the way down to Pussy, and just getting curious. There's that word again, getting curious. And by getting curious, you're just being open. You're being open to listening. And then every now and then you'll get downloads. And as you talk to Pussy more, as you create a relationship with her, as she becomes like your secret best friend, that's where the magic happens. When you're connected with Pussy, you can really get creative. You can really pull your energy and your juiciness, your aliveness, your vibrance from Pussy. So if you're thinking about how to do it, maybe my first clue would be to stop thinking and get inside your body.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So interesting.
Yeah, because that's what I don't want. I don't want to have to think more.
Yeah, and creating that relationship with your sex organs, no matter what they are, is like just this magical thing that no one teaches you.
Yeah,
that's not included in sex ed classes. So now I talk to Pussy every day. I talk to my husband's cock. Like I'll say, I miss you, and I'm gonna have like wish to see you in your eyes, and then I'll like be like, I miss you so much. I can't wait to get back. And like whisper into his cock. Like I talk to his cock too. And then sometimes like he's getting more comfortable. I'm definitely more of the initiator in this situation and the expander. So now he's joining me in the forces, and cock is talking back.
Really? I love that.
What about like the initiation part of it? Like, because I also struggle with initiating too, and I know a lot of friends that have the same problem.
Yeah, and I do too, definitely. I think there's such a story out in our culture of the man always coming after the woman in heterosexual relationships, and I think that's like I abide to that. I definitely feel that story sometimes. So it's just turning the table around, letting go of the thoughts, letting go of the stories. I know it's like stupid to keep saying the same thing, but like the story that it's work, that's just a story.
I mean, I guess it does make sense. Like, I think it's hard to even conceptualize, like, okay, how do I actually get out of my head and into my body? But like, when I think about like going to pole class and like how I would feel really sexy when I was dancing and like doing a routine, if I felt like, okay, I know these moves and like I can like feel my body and I can feel comfortable like freestyling a little bit. Like if I could get to a place where I felt comfortable, then I feel like I could feel really sexy and not be in my head just dancing. And I feel like it's kind of maybe the same sort of concept. And it's like I just haven't gotten there with initiating yet because I haven't practiced it the way I practice pole over and over and over again, you know?
Well, even using that dance as your own invitation.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful way to drop into your body and get out of your head.
Totally.
Totally. Put on a sexy ass song and dance for yourself. He doesn't even need to be there. But if like today's the day that you decided that you're going to initiate it, let's get started early. Let's dance. Let's put some music, like put that sexy ass music on. Strip for yourself. That is something that I started doing recently, and it's so much fun. I started stripping for myself. Like I put on a song. I strip sexy the whole time, and I'm doing it for no one, just for me because it's fucking fun.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
I feel like that could actually work for me personally.
Yeah.
Because it's like too much pressure to be like, I'm going to go give him a show, you know?
Yeah.
Like way too much pressure.
Yeah.
But like to just do it for myself to get in the mood, I feel like that could totally work.
Yeah, and again, then just bringing your hands to your body.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then all that is doing is dropping you into your body, out of your head, and then you start the breath work.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, when we did our dance class with Kristen, it was very, like, I feel like I wasn't even in my head during that because I was just trying to, like, figure out, or I was just, like, thinking about my dance moves. I wasn't really thinking about anything else. And so, yeah, I feel like doing that and then doing the rituals that we talked about at the beginning, you know, just, like, putting a candle on in my room, like, making sure there's no laundry anywhere nearby. Because I'm the same way. Like, I will just, like, look at the dishes or look at something and I'm like, I'm not turned on right now because I'm, like, so stressed out about the house being messy that I can't even, like, think about sex.
Absolutely.
I love this ritual idea. I feel like it could be really helpful for like all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, for your ritualistic animals.
Yeah. Yeah. This is so fascinating. I feel like we need to like write down a list of like the things we need to do to like try.
I know. I'm like making a mental list right now. But yeah,
I
I think like maybe next week when we podcast again, we can update each other on what we have done to start like using some of these principles that we learned today.
Yeah, we need to like check in.
Yeah.
In like a week.
Okay, so we have like a twofer question.
Okay.
So one of them is, what is your definition of pleasure? And then how do women learn to unleash their pleasure?
Okay, so my definition of pleasure, I kind of mentioned it earlier where, you know, it's anything that gives you an enjoying feeling. So it doesn't have to be, I'm going to rub my clit super hard. It can be that. It can and often is that.
Yeah.
But it can also just be a soft, sensual massage. It can be a bubble bath. It can be reading a book. It can be saying no to the house and going for a walk and connecting with nature. So pleasure is anything and everything that you want it to be. It doesn't have to be this narrow little box, and it definitely does not have to be defined to just in your vulva or your cock. And how to unleash it is really getting into your body, getting into this primal urge to come out of this conditioned life that so many of us are in. So coming into your primal pleasure-filled body, you can do that with holistic sex tools, like I mentioned, breath work, mindfulness, movement of energy. So visualizations is one. And staying curious. I know I keep saying that word curious, but that's because there's no end. There's no end in this game. Like we've been together 24 years. Last night I'm like, dude, we've never done that sex position before, have we? Like, this is brand new. How crazy is that? That we've done this so many times and we're still exploring new things. So just that curiosity. And I find that couples who really innovate, they last. And so it's coming up with innovations together and exploring together.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's really helpful.
Yeah, I like the curiosity thing. I think is really interesting because I have noticed a lot with like some of our clients who will come in for shoots, and they're typically, I notice it with women who are in their like maybe like 40s to 50s kind of thing, and a lot of them have told a semi-similar story of having a certain kind of life and then some kind of event happening in the last 5-ish years or something, and now they're like re-exploring this new era of their sexuality and like what that journey has been like for them. And it's always so fascinating and inspiring to hear those stories. You know, they're always like, you know, I wish I knew X thing when I was 20, or I wish I did, you know, whatever. But it is that aspect of just like staying curious and being able to learn it no matter what stage you're at in your life, you know?
Yeah, and I just think that's so freaking rad that you guys provide space for people to express that. It's really awesome.
Yeah,
Really
I mean,
cool.
we're also like so lucky too to get to like witness it. I feel like we get to see people in like so many stages of the journey, and it's just like really, really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, should we do our obsessions?
Yes, let's do our obsessions.
Okay, do you want to go first?
Sure. Okay, so this week my obsession is a little bit of a deviation from the norm, but it is a camera. It's the Canon R5C. I rented this camera for our trip to Salt Lake, and it gave me the best photo I've ever taken, which was the photo of Anna naked in the cowboy boots and cowboy hat. So I do think that the camera is partially to thank for this. It's such a cool camera. It's like, I have been using a Sony for years, and the Canon, just like, everybody says the colors are better on a Canon, and they are. Like, the touch screen and the way you can, like, focus on the images on the Canon is so cool. You can, like, drag your focus to, like, make it a really big, expanded focus, regardless of what your f-stop is. It's just, like, it's a really cool camera, and the video quality is insane. I did mess up the podcast videos last week when I tried to record with it because I did the settings wrong, but Anji and I took other videos on the camera, like client videos, and they were so good, and I just really love this camera. And I talked to some like camera nerd photographer friends who really know their stuff, and they said that the Canon R5 is like the best camera there is right now, and the R5C is just the version that is like the cinematic version, so that's where you can like switch to video and take like hour-long videos, and it has all the video tools on it. The R5 has like more of the like basic video tools, but they both have the same like photography camera. So if you're a photographer and you're thinking about renting this one or trying it, I highly recommend, because it's a really good camera. It is $4,000, so I have not purchased it yet, but you know, it was fun to use in Utah.
How do you rent a camera?
So you can go to a camera store, and a lot of them do rentals. I went to ProPhoto, and they rent out all different kinds of equipment. So you can rent out lights, you can rent out, different like modifiers for the lights, and then you can rent cameras and lenses and probably other stuff too.
Like any gear you could think of for photography, they let you rent it.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
I also rented my first zoom lens. I had never used a zoom lens before, and that was like so fun to have. And it's like, I feel like this thing weighs 100 pounds with like the big camera and the zoom lens, but I'm like, I have to have it because it's so good. I'm just gonna have a really strong left arm. But I really loved that thing. I miss it.
You also didn't have a strap.
No, I didn't have a strap, which was really crazy of me. I was like running around in the sand with no camera strap on this rented $4,000 camera.
It was scary.
They didn't give me a strap, and then by the time I realized I was in Utah, and it was like, well, I guess I'm just working without a strap. Like, I mean, I never dropped it.
No, you didn't. You were.
I did drop it, but it wasn't until we were back in the studio, and it was like, how did I make it through this entire road trip in like the rugged wilderness of Utah, not dropping it, and then I drop it from the bed to the floor in the studio? It's just, it really didn't make sense.
You know, they're made to handle dropping.
They are. And also, ProPhoto, if you hear that, no, you didn't.
Yeah. Taylor's lying. I already talked about it. My obsession's that photo. I'm so obsessed with that photo. I can't stop talking about it. I can't stop posting it. Everyone
never stop.
Yeah. Friends have told me to put it on Christmas cards, and I'm like, maybe I will. Like, I think that's a great Christmas present to everyone I know.
Do it.
Absolutely.
Do it.
I'm also ordering a keychain currently for myself because I need it on my keys.
Yeah, you need it on everything you own.
Yes.
Like, cover your car in stickers of it.
Oh, you can get a wrap.
Yeah.
Yes.
A car wrap.
Car wrap. My nude.
Get a blanket made out of it
I
for
love
your
it.
bed.
I love it. Part of my ritual is looking at my nude every day as I make my bed.
Yes.
What's your obsession?
Okay, I brought this book. It's called Cassandra Speaks by Elizabeth Lesser. And on the cover it says, "When women are the storytellers, the human story changes." And I have a little excerpt. Does that work?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Story time. Cassandra Speaks. What's the best thing about getting older? I know my own heart and I value my experience. I am not afraid of being exposed when I'm wrong. I'm not looking for accolades when I do the right thing. I am at home in my own skin and in my own mind and in my joy and mess of being human. I wasn't always like this as a young girl and young woman in my early career years, and in my first marriage, I didn't know my own mind, treasure my body, or trust my emotions. I didn't trust myself. Well, sometimes I did. Sometimes I spoke my truth, but lurking always in the background was self-doubt and a vague sense of shame.
Wow.
I love that.
I feel that.
It's like the first paragraph of the book.
Wow.
I need to buy this book immediately.
Yeah. I was literally just talking with my coach this morning about not trusting myself, so it's very apt.
Yeah.
Also, the cover of this book is stunning.
I
It's
know.
gorgeous.
The cover of this is the photo shoot we did of you in Oysterville.
Yeah,
it was
it
surrounded by
is.
the flowers.
It is. I was doing like goddess poses surrounded by a garden of flowers.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just started it, but it's been on my read list for like 2 years now, so I'm super excited.
Oh my gosh. Okay, and you brought multiple obsessions.
I mean, I did. If you
Yes.
guys have
No,
more.
tell
Yes,
us.
tell us.
All
We
of
love
them.
it.
Okay, so as I mentioned, de-armoring the pussy is a big priority in my work with women. So this is one of the tools that I use, and it's my personal favorite. It's a yoni from the Yoni Pleasure Palace. It's in Australia, and it is a beautiful glass dildo. Oh my gosh, look how pretty it is.
It is really pretty.
She's stunning.
Right? And my husband got this for me for Christmas this year.
Wow.
What a great guy.
He is a good guy.
I was saying earlier that I feel like it looks like it could be just a sculpture that you put on a shelf in your house.
really does.
And
Yeah.
you could just like put it in a cup holder, like boop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just looks like a piece of art.
Yeah, so this is a really amazing tool that I love. It's got a great G-spot. It's a good, really good squirter. If you're into squirting, this is a kind of tool that you want to use for that. And just that hard surface lets you squeeze your pelvic floor muscles around it. And that gives a different sensation than just like jab, 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 jab. So it kind of
Interesting.
gives a little bit different sensation in the pussy, and it helps, like I said, de-armor the pussy and really let the pleasure start to flow.
Wow.
So that's-
Okay. I've never used. This just made me realize I've never used anything that's actually hard. Like
Yeah.
truly,
Yeah.
Right.
you know.
Same.
Yeah, that's it's the hardness of it, and then what the goal is actually you're, like I said, you're squeezing around it. So you're squeezing your entire pelvic muscles, your floor, the pelvic floor, and then it also kind of pushes your cervix against it too. So it's just a really different sensation, and it's pretty incredible.
It's kind
Wow.
of like what we've talked about before, where you're like holding your abs like during,
Yes.
and it's like I feel like that's like just like the next level of it too, where it's like your abs and your pelvic floor, all of it, but you're like squeezing it around this thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Squeezing it around.
I'm so intrigued.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the last one is my Goddess Power Oracle card, a 52 card deck and guidebook. And it's from, I am obsessed with this deck. I actually drew a card already today. And it is from goddesses, what I really love, from all cultures. So from all over the
that's really
world.
cool.
And so almost every card, I'm like, I get to learn something new about the culture. I get to learn about a goddess and her history and her power. And then I get to empower that and use it in my own life. So it's such
I
a fun
want these
deck.
cards.
They are great. They were recommended. This is my very first deck of anything. Like, I was pretty living in the box of conformality when it came to this, and I didn't use a Ouija board or anything. So if you want to pick a card,
Yes. Let's do it.
Do you like pick one every morning?
I do it not every morning. I usually do it when I have a really intention.
Okay.
And then I kind of like hold the deck. I do like a little mindful meditation around the deck. I ask it what I want, what I'm looking for, and then I do a reading or a card, and I do it for
Ooh.
friends, and it's so much fun.
I love
Okay,
that.
you go
Okay.
first.
Okay.
All right. So it's totally up to you. If you want to pick the deck, it's all yours.
All right. Should I flip it over?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Mama Kocha,
Ooh,
water.
I pulled her before. What number is she, does he say?
She's 33.
33.
She's got stunning makeup.
Yeah,
Right?
this is a photo shoot waiting to happen right
Yeah.
now.
The whole deck. Like, if
Yeah.
you want to do it, please, I will drive up.
Yes.
Oh, that'd be really fun.
Okay.
Taylor and I have been very into goddess poses and like
This
drapery.
is the next step on our goddess
Truly,
journey.
yeah.
Yes. Okay, so she is the world. Okay, her empowerment messages to you is the world we inhabit began from the oceanic water of life and the waters that surrounded us in the womb, both of which are the domain of the Incan goddess Mama Kucha. We are most attuned to the qualities of water as an element of water symbolically represents our emotions. Our emotions move us to make and perceive the world as we know it. The beauty in this truth is found by observing water in all of her properties and forms. Water is fluid and passes through the cracks and the flaws in the ground without stress, moving around obstacles and patiently wearing away at the most jagged rocks until they are smooth and gleaming.
Wow. I love that. I feel very inspired.
And I don't think there's anything that's too wet.
No. No such thing. It's too wet.
No way. You want to pull a card?
Yeah, okay. Rhea, Flo, 44.
Nice.
The glam hair is also stunning.
Wow.
I feel like we have similar hair.
Yeah, you have the same hair.
Yes.
Right? This is meant to be.
All right, Rhea's empowerment message for you is, do you notice how when you're in alignment with the universe, everything in your life seems to flow? The Greek goddess Rhea, whose name means flow and ease, comes to let you know that you're entering such a time. While the flow state is not permanent for most people, it's a beautiful feeling that allows you to lose yourself in the rhythm. It's as if you're traveling down a magical stream where the ideas and insights pour through you from a vast source of information that is gifted to you. The way to ensure you remain in this beautiful energy as long as you can is to observe your life with a relaxed attention, listening to the guidance presented to you as you move forward without resistance or fixed ideas. You can enter a flow state anytime you're willing to release your expectations. It requires trust, as the goddess Rhea ensures your boat will never capsize as you move through a slow stream to a rapid river. Dang.
I feel like I needed that message.
Yeah.
I'm into this.
I love this.
We need
I feel
these.
like
We
we
need
should
these.
have these in the studio, and then if people
Yes.
want to, they can pull one before their session.
Yeah.
That'd be
Fun.
cute.
That'd be
I
great.
love that idea.
Yeah.
Yes, and then you can really start to embody the goddess. That's part of the Tantra experience, is just
Yeah.
embodying the goddess in that goddess energy. And
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like it'd be nice to have too, because then like when they're in the shoot, if they're getting like nervous, we can be like, "Remember Raya?" Like,
Yes.
you know,
pull
what
in
would
the
she
energy.
do? Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, I love
yeah,
it.
That's a really good idea. Okay, we're getting some goddess cards for the
yes.
studio.
You've inspired us.
Yay!
Well, this is amazing. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing
Yeah.
all your knowledge with us. I have learned so much today.
Same. Yeah, this has been fascinating.
I'm so happy to be here.
No, this is honestly incredible, and I just feel like you're a wealth of knowledge on all things. So if the Posse wants to know more, tell them
Yes.
about where they can find you.
They can find me. My website is melaniebonk.com. My Instagram is @bonkbetter.
I love that.
That's
I
perfect.
mean, I was meant for this work. I
You
was
were.
born on Valentine's Day, and my last name is Bonk. I mean, if I'm not your expert in love, sex, and relationships, I don't know who is. Just saying.
Do you do your coaching sessions in person or are they virtual?
Most of them are virtual.
Virtual, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be a couple local people, but Ashland's not that big of a town.
Yeah.
Fair. That sounds amazing. How
Yeah.
long is each session?
I recommend that couples take off 2 hours. I like to say 90 minutes, but there's some times where it gets juicy and thick and heavy, and I don't want to cut it short.
Yeah.
So I like to say 90 to 120 minutes when I work with a couple. That really gives each person so much time and space to be seen and heard and have their own experience. And then the really beautiful part of that is your partner gets to witness you.
Yeah.
So it's not like you have to go home and be like, hey, guess what I just did?
Yeah.
You know, they're
Yeah.
witnessing and growing and expanding with you, and then you're up leveling together, and you're like on this spiral of just thrivingness. It's really cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting.
Yeah. And do you work with couples that aren't like newly
Yeah.
committing or
Yeah, I actually just met with a couple yesterday. They're 20 years in and had a kind of rough relationship for 20 years. And couples usually take 6 years from when they know they have a problem to seeking help. 6 years.
Wow.
6 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Well, this particular couple waited 20, but they're still committed to each other, and they're going to give it, you know, but yeah, 20 years. So it's different work. It's different energy, different feel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I work with individuals as well, really unleashing and empowering their sexuality.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's so
okay. That's
cool.
good to know that individuals can do it too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And individuals of all genders can
All
come to you?
genders.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
And couples of all flavor.
Yeah.
And I'm actually working with a couple also that's ethical non-monogamy. They're exploring all of that. So this is just a time where relationships can be whatever you want them to be.
Yeah.
So having the conscious tools to create that is like your gift. All
Yeah.
of your ancestors didn't have that, but you do.
Yeah.
So you can take the opportunity to really like create whatever you want.
Yeah. That's so cool.
That's really interesting.
Well, Posse, you know where to go if you want
Yes.
some help.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
This has
you.
been
Yeah.
amazing.
Yes. Thank
Yeah.
you for having me. It's awesome.
No, this is the best. I
Yeah.
love it. Okay, where can they find us?
You can find us at nakedpeachboudoir.com, at Naked Peach Boudoir on all the socials, and then you can find the podcast at peach.posse on Instagram and Peach Posse on TikTok. You can find me at T Smells.
You can find me at Anna McLaughlin Photo.
And we'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye.